Shalom, shalom. So let's learn about Parshas Yisro. It says, the Parsha opens, Vayishma Yisro. Yisro heard everything Hashem did for the Jewish people, and he came out to join us. So as the Meforshim all discuss, what exactly did he hear? What did he hear? And what's more important, what we should learn from this, how we can hear something and be influenced by it to change our lives. This is really the teaching of Parshas Yisro. A person can hear something, and some people hear things and it doesn't do anything for them. They stay the same. Some people hear something, some teaching or something that happened, and they really think about it and they change their lives. They do something about it. That's really what we learned from Yisro. So let's learn about that. Vayishma Yisro. Yisro heard. And we're also going to learn really about the art of listening, of hearing. How to hear something and to really internalize it, to really listen to what's happening. So Sfas Emes brings a medrash. Zocha Yisro lishmoa dvar Hashem. How did Yisro merit to hear Hashem's voice? If nobody else merited it. This question that's bothering us. The whole world heard about Yitzias Mitzrayim, the Yam Suf, Matan Torah, and nobody came. He's the only one who came to this year. He's the only one who came. Why? Everybody else knew about it. What was special about Yisro and what was special about his hearing? So the Medrash reveals to us something very, very important that happened before that led to that. Al Yedei Shelo Shoma La'atzas Bilam. So the Torah here is hinting to the famous story that happened many years before that in Egypt, where when Paro decided to persecute the Jewish people, when he was sitting with his wise men and his ministers to create the final solution for the Jews of Egypt, what we read about in the Torah, all the slavery and all the firstborns being killed. Who was there? Who helped Paro make this decision? So we all know there were three people there. He had three ministers, three wise men, advisors. Yisro, Eov, and Bilam. Yisro, who later he became a Jew. Eov, we read about in the book of Eov, how he had a life of suffering. And Bilam, we read about later on in Parshas Bilam, he was a Rasha who always tried to, he had a deep hatred for the Jewish people. Until the end of his life, he tried to destroy the Jewish people. So Chazal tell us, Paro asked his three wise men what to do with the Jewish people, what to do with this problem, the Jewish people. So Bilam got up right away and said, kill them, persecute them. He was the Rasha, the evil. Eov, he wasn't a tzaddik or a Rasha. He sat there silent. He wasn't a Rasha. He didn't believe in persecuting the Jewish people, but he wasn't strong enough to get up and say no or to get up and leave. He sat there. So he was punished for that, for suffering. Okay. All the 70 years of suffering, because he sat there and he could have gotten up and left or said something. But at the end of his suffering, he had the merit to repent, and he had a good ending because he wasn't evil. It wasn't his idea. Just he wasn't strong enough. It was a weakness. But in the end, he was okay. The third wise man was Yisro. He was against it. He got up and ran. He left Egypt. He could have been the vice president. He could have been one of the greatest ministers. He was so strong in Egypt, and he sacrificed all of that. Because he knew this was wrong. He was a tzaddik. And he came, and eventually he came and joined the Jewish people, and his daughter married Moshe Rabbeinu. So Chazal tell us he did not listen to the Eitzah of Bilam. Bilam gave an Eitzah. He had a plan. He had a plan what to do. Eov listened. He didn't talk, but he listened. He was there, silent. He listened. He heard. He didn't argue. Yisro didn't listen. He didn't even hear. He didn't even want to hear. He got up and left. It's not clear what was better to do. Would it be better to argue, or on the contrary, not even to try to argue, just to get up and leave? Sometimes even arguing is wrong. By arguing, you're showing that he has a point. Sit there and listen is wrong, even if you don't agree. But as we're learning now, listening is very important. Listening can change your life, and is very, very, is a lot, listening. Now, Yisro got up and fled, and he sacrificed his whole life, is what he did up till now. Because of that tremendous mitzvah that he did, he merited Vayishma Yisro, that in our parsha, he heard the voice of Hashem in the Torah. He joined Am Yisrael. Nobody else had that merit. Nobody else in the world had that merit to leave Egypt, to leave the Goyim, and to become part of the Jewish people. Yisro did.
Well, there's some Egyptians that went with people. No?
They weren't real kosher converts. They made lots of trouble. We don't even know where they are today. But Yisro, that was
Why did you say that Yitro heard Hashem, or he heard? The shot is he heard about what happened, right?
Yeah, it's both. He saw how he saw that what Hashem was doing when he heard about all these stories, everything going on with Am Yisrael. He understood what was really happening, how important it is, and in the end, he came to Har Sinai, and he heard. And he heard the Torah finally at Har Sinai. He heard, nobody else.
There's some question whether he came after
the
Torah.
Yeah, that's a machlokas. But the pshat in the pasuk, let's go with that pshat. Yisro came, and then he came to Har Sinai. And if he came afterwards, but he heard about that. On the contrary, he was far, far away in Midian, and he heard about Matan Torah. Nobody else heard about Matan Torah. Nobody else joined Am Yisrael. Everybody knew there was Har Sinai. They knew that there's Am Yisrael. Yisro joined. So let's get back to where we started. So Yisro heard. He listened and heard, and really went inside of him. Now, how did he do that? How did that happen? Because he didn't listen to the bad Eitzah of Bilam, to the Sheker. If he would have listened, if he just listened and learned and absorbed those evil teachings, he wouldn't have been capable of listening and absorbing the Torah. It wouldn't have happened.
We're taught something you have to empty out things to hear new things. Okay?
Oh, so this is very, very interesting. It just to hear the Torah, you can't just turn on a cassette or you can come to a shir or do something. For Hashem to open up one person's ears to really hear the Torah, a person has to do something for that. A person has to sacrifice something for that, and a person has to really train himself to hear and to listen. And how do you do that? By not listening to the Ra, The Allah, now the Sfas goes on. He takes us to Sefer Tehillim, the book of Tehillim of David HaMelech.
What's in that laptop?
So we have the book of Tehillim. The Tehillim starts, Ashrei Ha'ish Asher lo halach ba'atzas rishayim. So fortunate, so lucky is the Ish, the man, who doesn't go in the ways, in the eitzas, in the advice of the Rishayim. So Chazal say that this pasuk is referring to Yisro, because that's what we just learned. He could have followed Bilam or just sat with Bilam and listened to him and sat there. And no, he didn't even sit there. He just left. That's the real success. That's the only way really to survive and succeed. Person, before hearing the Torah, before he knew what the Torah was, but to be strong, to be an Ish. Yisro Nikra Ish. And the Medrash quotes another pasuk, L'Sheves es Aish. The Torah calls Yisro Ish. Ish is a very, very important word. Not everybody is called Ish. We find many places in the Torah where people were called Ish. You have to deserve to be called Ish. Ish is a leader. Whenever we refer to a leader, we call them an Ish, somebody important. Or, but more important, somebody who isn't misleaded by others, somebody who's strong, and at least is a leader of oneself, is in lead of oneself. That's, if a person is strong enough that to follow what he holds is right, then he's an Ish. Yisro is called Ish. He got up and he left. He left Egypt. He left Bilam. V'lo amad k'mo Iyov sheshosak. In Tehillim it says two things. Halach means actually following the bad eitzas. Bilam and Paro actually were evil. They followed this terrible eitzah. They followed this Bilam and the three wise men of Paro, Bilam and Iyov, actually followed that terrible eitzah, and they decided to persecute the issue that decreed to persecute the Jews, the Jewish people. Iyov, Job, he was there, as we learned. He was not evil. He didn't believe in the decree. He didn't issue that decree together with Paro and Bilam, but he didn't fight it. He was there. He didn't leave the government. So he is called Yashav. He sat with Rishayim. Bilam and Paro followed the Rishayim. Iyov sat, he joined the Rishayim, he sat with them. But Yisro Barach, he fled. He was also there in the government, together with Iyov and Bilam and Paro. When they decided to do this, he left. He didn't have any part of it. Not only did he not agree, he didn't even want to argue with him, he just left. Ubetoiras Hashem chefzo. And the pasuk in Tehillim goes on. Ubetoiras Hashem chefzo. That person was Yisro, who got up and separated himself from the Rishayim and didn't want to hear them and sit with them. He was an Ish, we learned. He wasn't just an Adam, a human being. He was an Ish. Ish is a much higher level of a human being that's his own self, that he's not influenced by these others. He's an Ish. Ish is a leader, really a leader personality, a true leader who doesn't follow his people either, a true leader. He left Paro and Bilam, and he saw the only truth is in the Torah. He said, I have to go out to Har Sinai. the greatest power in the world, Egypt, greatest culture and civilization in the world, is all terrible and evil. It's all wrong. The truth isn't there. The good isn't there. Ubetoiras Hashem chefza. You have to go out to the desert and search for the Torah of Hashem. Laleches lemakom tohu. He went to wilderness. He left Egypt, the greatest civilization. Went to wilderness because he knew that it must be that the answer is there. Vahaya ke'etz shasul al palgei mayim. Then the pasuk goes on to say in Tehillim, which is all talking about that. The introduction to Tehillim, it's all talking about Yisro, who had the strength to do all of this. The first pasuk in Tehillim, the introduction to Tehillim is all about Yisro's teaching. That he got up and he didn't sit with Rishonim, he certainly didn't follow them. He ran away to the desert, to the wilderness, to be with the Jewish people, to hear the real Torah. He sacrificed his own success, all his power. He sacrificed that whole world of Egypt, that whole civilization and culture. He sacrificed for what? For some camps in the wilderness, some tents of the Jewish people who were there to listen, to receive a Torah that's going to change the world. And what did he merit? So the pasuk goes on to say, "V'haya ke'etz shasul al palgei mayim." He's compared to a tree. You asked about Tu B'Shvat. So here's where Tu B'Shvat comes in. The book, the pasuk in Tehillim.
The New Year of the tree.
Yeah. Tu B'Shvat, the New Year of trees. And so, how does David HaMelech? What does he use to talk about this wonderful, tremendous act that Yisro did, about a person like that? What does he compare him to? To a tree that's planted by the banks of waters, where it has all the waters it needs. It's going to be a strong, strong tree. As the pasuk goes on to say, the fruit will all come at the right time. All the winds in the world won't be able to knock over this tree. It'll be a really strong, good, healthy tree. That's how we look at Yisro. Yisro sacrificed. It was dangerous. But in the end, because he did that, Chazal say, Zochol izdabik b'Moshe Rabbeinu. He became a father-in-law of Moshe Rabbeinu. He married into the best and strongest and righteous family in Israel. Came right to the top. Be right there in Israel. Pirio yitin be'ito Zitzipora, and your daughter who's the Rebbetzin, the wife of Moshe Rabbeinu. Ve'aleu lo yibol. The pasuk goes on to say, it'll give fruit. That's his daughter who married Moshe Rabbeinu. Ve'aleu, and the leaves, it'll have the good leaves. Who's that? What's that referring to? One of his sons. We don't see much about his sons in the Torah. We see it later on in Parshas Shoftim, they're hinted to. In Sefer Shoftim, they're hinted to. In Divrei Hayamim. What happened to the sons of Yisro? Shezacho lios gdoilim batoira, taratim shematim sachtim. They became Torah leaders of their generations. His sons, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, they were in the Sanhedrin. They were in the Sanhedrin, the great Torah court of Israel. He's called Yavitz. If you heard of Yavitz in the book of Shoftim, Yavitz is Yisro. So his children became the rabbis, the scholars, the leaders. They opened up the greatest yeshivas. These were all descendants of Yisro, all because of that one act that he did. Yeah, it was a tremendous test. It was a very difficult test. 2 out of 3 fell. He was evil, and Eov also fell. He could have just as easily just sat there and be quiet. He got up, and he left, and he merited all of this for his future generations to eternity. B'chol asher yaseh yatzliach. And the last line in that pasuk in Tehillim, Yaseh, everything he does, yatzliach, have success. Everything went good for him. Imagine that for generations. everything worked out perfect for him. What is that referring to? So the Medrash says, "Shenosan ha'etza ala shoftim v'yitzliach." As we read in our parsha, all the things he did and created for the Jewish people worked. The system that he built in our parsha of all the judges and the courts, it was a great idea, but who said it's going to work? Maybe it just won't work. Maybe it'll just be a disaster. It just won't work. It worked. So he had, and that means it's a special gift from Hashem to do something like that. This tremendous thing, taking a whole Jewish people, just coming out of slaves, coming out of Egypt, and making such a system, and the system works perfectly. That's a special bracha he got. Anybody else who would have done that, it wouldn't have worked.
Well, Moshe was accepting of it too.
Oh, yeah.
So I was reading that. So some teach that Yitro and Moshe were the Gilgal of Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
And there's a whole that this partial is done to fix it.
Yeah.
Fix
The Rizal talks about that a lot. The Rizal refers to that a lot. That Yisro, it's even hinted to in the Tanakh, he's a descendant of Cain. Sakini, he's called Akini. He's called again and again, even after he joins the Jewish people, he's called the Cain. Kini.
Mm.
From Cain, Kini, from Cain.
Mm-hmm.
They keep referring to him as the Kohen too.
No, that's the Kohen of the Goyim. But even after he starts being the Kohen of the Avodah Zarah, it's called Kini with a Kuf. From Cain. Now Moshe is connected to Hevel because we're part of that part of the world. The Jewish people, the Torah learning, the good guys, we're part of Hevel. That's Moshe Rabbeinu. There are a lot of other hints to how he's connected to Hevel. Yisro is very connected, very, very strongly to Cain. So, and there's a lot to learn about that. How Moshe was more spiritual, and Cain was more into this world, and that's why Yisro had to bring in all that down to earth technology and order that he brought in to help us make order out of the Torah. The Torah was very spiritual, it was very open, and we were just new people coming out of just a new, fresh people without any order. He's trying to bring in all that order in that system, and it worked. It worked. The system worked, and it didn't destroy all that spiritualism, all that. It didn't destroy all that pure and the pure lessons of the Torah that the system is supposed to support. It didn't just become another system, another Egypt or another Midian. Okay, so Yisro had tremendous success. This whole list of things that Tehillim says about him, that he all these rewards. But what we have to always remember, the first word, the key word. How did he get it? How did he merit it? And that's what we have to learn from him, to follow in his footsteps. Yishma. Vayishma Yisro. Shema, like we say Shema Yisro every day. The Shema, it's the most important pasuk we say every day is Shema. It's about listening. And Yisro is the first one to do that. He heard about what's going on with the Jewish people, about the Har Sinai, and he really listened to it. He said, this is right. If this is right, I'm going to do it. And as the Medrash adds to that, even one step before that, the real true secret about that was that he did not listen to Bilam. Years before that, Bilam was giving all his pizzas, all of his ideas, his whole philosophy of old philosophy that everybody was following, persecuting the Jewish people and creating a strong Egypt with all these slaves. He said, no, I'm not even going to listen to that. Very interesting. He didn't even bother arguing. He said, this is wrong. I am not going to waste my ears, my gift of hearing, of listening on that. I'm not going to listen to that.
Well, it's like, if you listen to it, he's hearing Lashon Hara, and once you hear it, you can't lose it. That's part of the power of Lashon Hara. That the person who hears it, You can't unhear it.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That shows again how powerful hearing is. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thought. You're really proving how powerful hearing is. You could hear something when you're 8 years old. For the rest of your life, you can't erase it. You can't just press a button on the computer and erase it.
And
You
sometimes
can't.
that works for the good. It's like with children. Like children you don't think your children hear what you're trying to teach them. But years later, you never know. It comes up. They have heard it, and it comes up, and remember it at the right time. And on the other side, lashon hara is something you can't. It changes the way you think about that person that you hear about forever. You can't lose it. So,
There's a difference between hearing and listening, and sometimes, it's like we can hear sound rather than listening to it. Like, we know its origin, like, do we know what it sounds like? Is that really coming in and we're understanding what that sound is for that piece of music? Or is it just sort of like
yeah, I'm not sure the distinction between hearing and listening.
and there's like some things we could hear, but maybe remember, but then actually listen later. You said things that my parents have said. It becomes part of my inner monologue because when I think it's maybe with their voice that I've heard before, but I need to be fussing listening.
And here he listened, then he acted. So that's the other part.
But you're raising a very, very important point. That's very, very important. There's hearing and listening. You hear everything around you. That's not called listening. When Yisro heard, he listened. So what did he do? What did he do more? And what you just said also is very important. That anything we hear, but certainly everything we listen to, it becomes part of you, and it's really part of you. You can never get rid of it. So in Yisro, he was lucky enough to hear the Torah, to hear something real, hear something worth listening to.
Yeah, I was just thinking what you said. I mean, maybe it's a two-step process. To listen, you first have to, hearing is the preliminary, is the first part, and then you hear things, but then listening is the deeper concept. But you can't necessarily listen without first hearing.
I think exactly.
Maybe it is a two-part process.
I think so. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, what was your point?
That hearing and listening are two. Listening is a second step of the process. That before you can really listen to something, you have to be hearing it. You can also choose to hear something and then not really listen to it.
Okay. So that's okay. Let's go. Let's take that one step more. What is that listening? You heard it. Okay. Now you say you have the choice to listen to it. What does that mean? How do you do that? What is that? So the truth is, we learned yesterday from the Sfas Emes. He reveals the secret. He has the answer to all this. You ready for the bomb? Everything makes sense and nothing makes sense. So he has the secret for everything. Want to hear a good word? So he says, gewaltige pshat, and we're reading back. Finally, in Matan Torah, we all know when our acceptance of the Torah is naaseh v'nishma, which is again nishma, will receive and hear the Torah. We said first, naaseh will fulfill the Torah and will listen to the Torah. And so everybody asks, first you have to listen, then you can do it. You can't do before you listen. Aseh means to do. Nishma means to hear and learn. First you hear and learn, then you do. How can you do and then hear and learn? Oh, so he says a beautiful word. And that really answers all of your questions. He says, how do you listen? You hear everything. How do you listen? He says, Nase, if you're doing something, then you really hear it. Something you do, you really hear. He says, first, Bnei Israel, they knew what the Torah was about, but that wasn't enough. And you could tell them the Torah, they could read the book, but it's still, that's hearing the Torah. But the only way really to hear the Torah is to do it. To jump in there and do it. Then I'm inside and it's inside me. I say. It's interesting. Shema is the same words as ma'aseh. There's the same ayin in the shin, but there's a connection. True listening, shmi'ah, Shema Yisrael, is not just to hear, it's to do something. And what did Yisrael do when he couldn't do anything, when he was in Egypt? Everybody was listening to Bilam, following all of that rituals. Everybody was doing that. And those who weren't doing that, but they weren't doing anything about it, and they were happy about it. They were letting it happen. He got up and ran away. That's also doing something. He didn't know what to do yet. He didn't hear the right path. He didn't know the right path yet, but he knew to leave them, to leave Paro, to leave Egypt, then to join the Jewish people. He did. Because he did that in Egypt, then he was able to really listen. But a listening, that's active. That's maaseh. That does something. Not just listening to music and just music coming in and out. Music that's changing your life. Seeing something and hearing something that's changing your life. That the actual hearing is doing. You became a new person. You created something. Oh, you did something with your life. You did something for yourself. You did something. That's a real hearing. So when we learn Torah, the point isn't just to hear another lecture or read another book. Every word we learn, whether it's in Chumash, in the Gemara, in any sefer, any idea we hear, right away, immediately. Now, what does that tell me to do? What am I going to do now? How am I going to be different? And that's what Yisro saw. More, doing.
So perhaps listening is hearing in action. And then
It's what?
hearing in action, like you hear it and then you transform it into doing, and that means that you've listened.
Oh, that means that you really listened. And as Sfas adds, it goes both ways. By actually doing it, then you'll hear a lot more. Then you'll really understand what you heard. To actually do it, it's really all one. It goes together. It's your attitude. If your attitude is about doing, then you'll hear what other people don't hear. You'll hear other people won't hear, because you're here to do.
That's why we're encouraged if after you learn something is to teach it. Because then you're transforming what you heard, what you listened to, into action.
And then
And it gets deep, and it becomes deeper by giving it over.
Oh, giving it over is one way, but giving it over to them, of course, for that to transform them, to help them really know what it means for them, for that person. You're giving over teaching. Now, how is that person different now? What did that person do differently? That's naaseh v'nishma. Doing and then hearing, then listening and hearing.
And then if you're so sensitive to know, try to know what the other person really will feel. And you can't say the same thing to everybody. You have to have a sense of what they're able to hear at that moment.
When you're teaching, you're saying something, and they're here to listen. If they sincerely want to hear and do, then there has to be something they could hear and do. Certainly. It has to be what's really right for them to hear and do.
And that's the skill of the greatest teacher, is to know how to talk to each person specifically, particularly, individually,
or what not to say.
or what not to say.
And great teachers, you can have 300 people in the class, and each one thinks he's talking, oh, he's talking right to me. Right to me.
What's interesting about this, what he's saying here, each one of our students, you're supposed to tell that person more than the person is really capable of doing now, because as soon as he starts doing that, as soon as he starts fulfilling and doing, then that'll give him a deeper understanding. It'll raise him to a higher level. The level that he's supposed to transform. It's very interesting. This whole idea of teaching what the student can accept and understand. We have to take into account, according in Torah, since we're all talking about transforming the person. So you have to understand that if he really hears or starts to hear that message, he won't be that same person he was before. So anything you believe that now that person can accept or understand or do, but that's now. But there's so much more and more and more. Na'aseh v'nishma, will do more and more. So he starts off now on whatever level that person is, and give that person a little bit more than that person can do now. Yisro, what he does is also impossible. Na'aseh v'nishma, the whole idea of na'aseh v'nishma is kind of doing something that seems impossible, because I don't want to do what I'm already doing. We really want to be new and different. That's also Tu B'Shvat. New year, new fruit. It's all about the Torah really has that power. We have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe in people that the Torah has that positive message that it seems that we can't do, it seems impossible, but we know that it is possible. And we're not giving up. That's what we're striving for. And it could be in a day, it could be in another generation, it could be 10 generations later. You don't know what that piece of Torah did for that person, that mitzvah, that mitzvah did for that person. It's one action. The person did one act. An act they put effort into it. If you don't put effort into it, then you won't. But the person put effort into that one, that word that person said. The person wanted to make somebody feel good, said a word to a person. You don't know that word could save that person's life. It could be 10 years from now. What that'll cause, who knows? But that's, Hashem is taking us out of Egypt. All the darkness of Egypt, all of that emptiness and kfira and rituals, and we're taking us to Har Sinai. We're seeing Emunah. We're seeing Hashem is giving a Torah to the world, showing us that there is good, and Hashem is here for the good of the world, in the world.
It sounds kind of a metaphor. Like we could be putting ourselves in Egypt as well, like on a day-to-day basis. We could be enslaving ourselves and our minds, and Hashem can help us move ourselves out of Egypt to a better place.
Oh, that's certain. All the teachings, everything that happened in Egypt, everything in the Torah is to apply eternally to each one of us at any place in our life. We have the Egypt and the redemption of Egypt. Certainly, all these teachings are for us. It's not history. So we have to understand. We have to look at it like that. What I'm doing in life. In what way am I still enslaved in Egypt? In what way am I not listening? And in what way could I listen and really truly change myself? All these teachings are, these are the teachings we have to take from Yisrael, from Yetzias Mitzrayim, from leaving Egypt, and from the parsha we have today. This parsha of Matan Torah. All these things, we'll be able to learn more and more and more. But the more we learn about it, with Hashem's help, we'll be able to do more, to to do more for ourselves, to do more for others. So, good job.
Amazing. Thank you.
Right.